This is episode 14 of Chris Sweeney Talks To. Today I'm joined by David Honeyford. Now, he is the new Northern Ireland Assembly member for Lagan Valley. Now, you may know Northern Irish politics. It's always Unionist and Nationalist. That tends to be the way things go, but it's certainly divided. But he's part of the Alliance Party who are trying to change that. So first of all, thank you for joining me today, David. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good, excited to get going.
Well, as I see, you're in your car. It's a busy day. Tomorrow you actually officially sign on as your new job in the Northern Ireland Parliament.
Yeah, so tomorrow's the first day, really. The election was last Thursday. The count went through Friday, and then we officially sign on. So we started Monday, but we officially sign on tomorrow. So big day.
Non-Irish politics. We've always said the Unionist, the Nationalist, but you guys are trying to do something different. This sort of historic elections you made. You went from 8 seats to 17 seats. You're now the third force in Irish politics, so it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so the party obviously is 52 years old. We're not a new party. We're a liberal party. We don't align as either Unionist or Nationalist, which is unique to us. And so you've seen the movement away from sort of that divided politics, really, to ourselves in this election. So, it's exciting times for us. We work really hard on the ground. The sort of progress isn't by accident, and it's happened over a period of years. We're working on the work, or we're building on the work that was done over many years. And this latest surge kind of really started 2017, where in the Assembly actually we had 106, it dropped to 90, but although our numbers didn't increase in 20. We actually percentage-wise increased, and then 2019, obviously, there was that kind of surge through council elections. I've been in council since then, since 2019. We've worked really, really hard on the ground at grassroots level, and that's where the party's based, really, at that grassroots, and dealing with issues, sorting the issues that matter to people, rather than the kind of divided or division that others can sort of take people down alleyways. So we that's where the party has come from, and that's the ethos for us is there to unite the community, bring people together, and to move forward.
Yeah, because I think for anyone outside Northern Ireland, we're all aware of the division, and it's been well publicised. But obviously now we've got peace, and things are a lot better. But it's still an issue. I think people will wonder on the doorstep how much of this constitutional, state Ireland or remaining part of Britain, whatever it may be, how much of an issue is that on the doorstep with people in Ireland? Is it becoming less and less an issue for them?
Coming less and less. We knock more doors in Lagan Valley than any other party by a long way. We've worked for 2 years really onto that. We've now won 2 seats. This is a seat. Lagan Valley, if anybody, is the home of Jeffrey Donaldson. It's the home of the Unionist leadership. It's the deputy leader of the Ulster Unionists. It's been the leadership of Unionist parties for generations here. And so for us to be in equal terms with 2 seats, the same as the DUP, is quite phenomenal. But it comes from work. But the change. So on the doorstep, we rarely get anything constitution-wise. People are interested in the health service, they're interested in the education system, the cost of the living crisis. Climate change is a major issue on the doorstep when you're on the door. But health is the biggest one. Health, for me personally, on the door, it would be 3 to 1 of everything else. Waiting lists, and those sort of issues. Those are massive. The constitution doesn't really get raised, unless so as you get younger in generations. So the sort of post-conflict, if you like, generations, it's not really mentioned at all.
Yeah, because I was going to say, obviously with the historic, Good Friday Agreement, 1998, and those people would be, well, my maths, roughly about 25 years old now. So there is a whole generation of people who would have known peace in Ireland, which is great. So I guess for these people, it is a thing they're trying to get away from, and they've never actually experienced, and hopefully they never will.
Yeah. So anybody basically under the age of 40, anybody in their 20s, 30s, haven't experienced that. The initial ceasefires and stuff were actually 94. So anybody kind of, I'm 47. I went to Lagan College. I was one of the first integrated schools. So whenever I was in first form in 85. I started 85. That was the middle of the trouble. So I lived through that in my teenage years. But as the Good Friday Agreement was signed when I got married, the year I got married. So so anybody sort of younger than me, if you like, or in their 20s, 30s, it really didn't come through that. And so it isn't, Joe, as much of a it's not an issue there for people, and that's the move, where they are interested in their jobs, they're interested in opportunities, they're interested in, I said, the health service, they're interested in the education system changing. We still have separate education systems with a small integrated sector, and we have Alliance have brought through legislation to change that and to allow integrated education. But like literally now 93% of our schools are still segregated, and that so the change is coming. Change is slow, but it is progressing. But you've a generations of people who aren't really interested in that and interested in that religious divide.
Yeah, because I think for anyone who doesn't know, about Northern Ireland, and you have Catholic schools, you have Protestant schools, or non-denominational schools, however you want to describe it. And I think for a lot of people that in parts of the world, that is kind of odd that two families living next door to each other, the kids who go to different schools because they're different religions, and the families might not be super religious people. It's just maybe what they were born into. That is something you guys would like to get away from. But do you think that's feasible in a place like Northern Ireland?
Yeah, so just to explain, so 93% of our schools are either Catholic maintained or, well, either non or effectively Protestant schools.
Yeah.
In real terms. So we've only 7% of our school system is integrated where it's mixed ethos. I went to the first of that and started in 1985. Now the first school of that was groundbreaking in 1981. So you had literally politicians trying to stop that happening at the time. Now, coming to now, the difficulty I have with the school system, and your community is based around the primary school, really. Whenever you're young, my kids are sort of upper age of school, and my eldest is at uni. But whenever you're at primary school, the community revolves around the school. So if you segregate the school by religious, you segregate the community. So it's not just that the kids are separated, but also the parents and the social side and all of that is separate. Then when you come to 18 years old and they go back to university, it's all back together again. And then you have the difficulty there. Now, we brought legislation through. Kelly Armstrong, my colleague, Kelly Armstrong, MLA, brought legislation through, a private members bill through and it passed just before the end of the last assembly. So sort of March time. And that was to give equal status to integrated schools and put priority to the education authority. So when new schools were happening, that integrated was given an equal basis to, and to try and increase those numbers, to make it the education authority have forced them basically to give every parent an option, that integrated become an option. So we weren't removing the other, but we were trying to increase the amount of integrated education, and that's where we want to see this increasing, where we want to see growth. We want our kids in the same classrooms. We don't think they should be separated at 4 years old. It's ridiculous for anybody outside. If you were and then for DUP Sinn Fein to come up with a shared plan, which was basically a semi-detached house where we'll share the roof and we'll share the assembly hall building. So rather than building two, we'll have one, but you still wear your green uniform, you go left, and you still wear your blue uniform and you go right when you come in the door. Is ludicrous. It's absolutely, if that happened in any other country in the world, it would be outcry. But we're coming from somewhere where we have to change a system. We're not in the position where we can just start, rub it out and start again, which would be ideal. But we've got to make change and bring people together, and that's the ethos of our party. We're a cross community party. We want to see the community unite together, and that's I've done a lot of work on the ground with sports clubs, and that's happening on the ground, and it's happening within our young people. But it needs to happen right across the systems.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's another thing, because if I'm correct in saying Northern Ireland right now, you have your first minister, you have your deputy first minister, but one has to be from a kind of unionist and one has to be from a nationalist, and it depends, who the other one, the opposite. And I think one of the Alliance Party's aims is to almost eradicate that and make two first ministers and sort of. Is it power share, or how would that work? And sort of, because would there be an overall person in charge then?
Well, there isn't an overall person in charge now. So what the first and deputy first minister is only different by title. So the first minister can't send a letter to anybody without the deputy first minister signing that letter as well. So it's two signatures and everything. You can't go to an appointment without the other one agreeing or coming. So it's a completely joint office. It's not now. Going back to 98 and the peace agreement and the Good Friday agreement that came through, that was necessary at that time to bring us kind of out of conflict. But now the world's moved on. It doesn't reflect the population, where you now have this third grouping of people in the centre who aren't interested in being a unionist or a nationalist, and the Constitution isn't the thing that we prioritise our politics around. So the system needs to reflect the current population, if you like, and the way the population are going, and we want to change that designation system is gone. That we effectively you would form a government of those who are willing to sign up to a program of government and deliver that, and that's really like you're becoming normalized, if you like, in a way to what they would have in various other countries where PR is like Scotland, your own, where you create a program of government, and you agree a program of government, and then you run with it regardless of the parties.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned Scotland because obviously, we had a referendum to sort of separate from the UK and be independent, and it didn't pass. But it was all sort of political arguments, economic arguments. Whereas, I'm assuming the Alliance Party would be okay with the referendum, but again, it wouldn't be held on, are you a unionist or nationalist? It'd be more, is this right for you as a person, and proceed on it, depending on how the people wanted. So, I guess that's not a bad sort of metaphor or sort of analogy for you guys going forward in some ways, if that was to happen.
Well, for us, Brexit is the example of what you don't do, so it's not, Brexit is the example of nobody understanding what you're voting for. It's Joe, and it's every version of what that means to whoever, and then afterwards it's a scramble, and we end up in the mess of the current stuff of the protocol and everything else. So that's the example of what you don't do. We're a party that don't base our politics around the constitutional question, but we're open to discussions around it. We're open to plan, but it needs to be any change like that needs to be planned through, worked out, and everybody know exactly what is on the table, and then we take it from there. It's not a case of as I said, we don't base ourselves on we're either wanting the union or we want to unite Ireland. So we want to unite people, bring people together, and ultimately that's our goal, that's our aim, and that's what we work hard to do.
Well, I mean, it's probably hypocritical because I've asked you about 5 or 6 questions all about that issue, but is it almost that you feel as though Northern Ireland politics is boiled down to this single issue, particularly by outsiders, or maybe by sort of more, sort of bigger news corporations? Is that frustrating that it always seems to be reported in this very narrow way? And like I say, I've just asked you the question, so I'm as guilty as charged myself. But is it quite frustrating?
No, because it's the elephant in the room, I suppose. So it is the thing that is there at the back. But it is sorry for you, for the outsider looking in on the ground. Most people care about their health system, their job, that's where the issues are here, and that's where we base our kind of politics. So it's not really frustrating, but frustration is not the right word, but it's sort of it's a way that we're seen, if you like, and we work our way through. I do a lot of work right across the community, within the Gaelic community. I'm in my background, but I'm not from that community. I'm now a development officer in the GAA. I've done a lot of work within peace programs, bringing loyalist bands and together with the Gaelic community. And so there's a lot of that stuff on the ground level that never gets reported, that never sees the light of day, that works on the ground, and media and press aren't interested in positive stuff, if you like. So that is frustrating. That's the frustration where the work that's going in to bring people together to understand and try and bring understanding between people doesn't get reported. That's frustrating, really frustrating, and is, but it goes on all the time. And that, you know, when you live in a divided society, and I suppose that's hard to understand for somebody looking into how kind of polarized we can be in certain issues. And the school issue is a good example, because you know, you've literally got kids going to one door of a school and another kids from another, you can go to another door of a school, but that divides families, that divides communities. And then that is kind of trying to put that back together again when they're 18, you know, and into university and are going to job or going to employment, and that, so the work that goes on, you know, bringing people together, it is frustrating whenever the media sort of focus on the negative, if you like, rather than the work that happens. But so such is life, you know.
Yeah, well, I think it was BBC. I saw a report during the weekend that, you know, they were talking about, they were interviewing a couple of, you know, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 sort of university students, you know, they were sort of fairly young adults, should I say, you know, teenagers, and, you know, they were thinking of this London dairy thing, and the reporter was almost tripping over the question of, like, should I call it dairy, should I call it London dairy? And basically the kids, the young people, they didn't care if you called it dairy or London dairy. They weren't bothered, you know.
The loyalist apprentice boys call it dairy, so that's good enough. That's good enough for me, to be honest. You know?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. So, you know, so you bring in, you know, and in terms of the grassroots thing, that's what I want to ask you about as well, because, I mean, obviously you were saying that's a big focus of the party, and we can see the success of the party sort of, you know, making gains, and that's one thing that's sort of always shown at sort of modern politicians, I think, in most places, that, you know, they're not interested, or they're not listening to the day-to-day, and it's all just about big stuff. But, you know, is that forgotten? And I think obviously the success of your party shows that, from what you're talking about, it's definitely paying dividends with the voters over there.
Yeah, we're on the ground. You know, we work really hard on the ground. Joe, I was elected in the council. Our councillors work really, really hard on day-to-day issues that matter to people. And we won't lose sight of that. Honestly, that's for me as an MLA. I didn't mean to become or get involved in politics even. I didn't deliberately come out for a new career. I didn't. That's not how I got involved. And for me, the priority is to serve people and to try and make and sort problems for people. That's what I got elected to do. That's what got me elected. And the focus will remain there. It's and that's a priority for us. You know, we are on the ground with people, especially people who haven't had a voice. You know, there's a lot of people who have felt for years. The number of people I've had at this election campaign are after now have messaged me, and I don't have enough fingers. Like, I mean, substantial numbers of people who have messaged me that go, David, I haven't voted for years, but you give us hope, and you know, there was something too positive to vote for, and they had the confidence that we would deliver on it. And the other is that I have voted for years and kind of felt like I was wasting my vote, but now I've got a home for that vote. You know, it's and there's a lot of people who have been sort of disenfranchised from politics, and now we've, you know, we are seeing us and have the confidence that we will deliver, and we will intend to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. You're not a career politician. It's not your, you know, you didn't sort of start this and that's your full-time job and that's your life. But is it a worry? Because I always think about people like yourself. You know, you've obviously had a job, you've got a family, you've got kids. You give that up to be, you know, or you change it to politics. But I mean, in a couple of years, the election could go a different way, and you could be out in your ear, so to speak. I mean, you know, excuse the crudeness, but is that a worry? It must make it a consideration, you know, when you jump into that role, because it's for real. It's not a joke, you know.
Yeah, I was at council 2019. I topped the poll. So Alliance had never won the seat that I was in. So I was a kind of rural area of Lisburn, just outside Lisburn, if anyone knows. So about 15 miles from Belfast, and we went from never having a seat there to I top the poll, and substantially top the poll, and never once have I felt comfortable. So never once, but I kind of use that as the motivation to keep moving. So you're not secure. It's a brutal game. It's not for the faint-hearted, and but it's motivation to work through the values and deliver the values that you stand for and deliver for people, and you just trust that people see the work you do and come through, but you're never comfortable, and the minute you get comfortable is the minute that you start to go backwards, I suppose. So
of course.
Remain uncomfortable, the uncomfortable side.
I was going to ask, obviously, it was sort of Monday you started working, sort of, unofficially, but tomorrow's a big sort of signing day and start. So, if you're starting something like this, have you almost got a folder full of things that you want to do, and you've been noting down on the campaign trail? Is it kind of straight in 100%, or is it the kind of role where you build up and gradually sort of look at things and find your way in the new role?
So it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both for me. So I'm very much on the ground, very much dealing with issues for people. I've had a council area, kind of there's 5 or 6, DAs within Lagan Valley. There's 5 main DAs and would have been Lisburn, and then areas just outside. And so I would have been in one area of my own DA, and we sort of, so you start to look at plans to go, right, how do I widen that out? I'm here for kind of everybody right across the entire area. So that's one thing. I look at, I'm involved with quite a few sports clubs. I've helped with a lot of funding. I think sport is a great way of uniting the community. Naturally, you have something that people can focus on. So regardless of your background, you can come and enjoy. I've done a lot of stuff with overage mental health stuff, trying to using sport, started or help guys start over 50s football, sort of out of COVID. So you have a group of guys who are stuck at home, working from home, living at home, and mental health suffers with that, and putting on weight and all that, and it's sort of kind of vicious circle. So we help a group of guys start veterans, so over 50s kind of football, and it's taken off, and I want to look at trying to expand that for more and bringing that. And I help the over 35s league, a sort of Sunday league. We had a Sunday league, but would you believe this? You weren't allowed to play football on Sunday in Lisburn, so our pitches were closed still for religious reasons. So I took that change through council with opposition from the DUP, but we got a change and we got that through. So over 35. So you have a lot of stuff on the ground. I want to continue up and do more of, bringing the Gaelic clubs together with the soccer and football clubs and the hockey and where all those sports and bring those and work that. Then on legislative side, I just want to, for me, this is personal. Some people have issues that they've run on. For me, I'm interested in infrastructure. I'm interested in the economy. I'm interested in jobs and creating that. And it's kind of one of those slower burners where I'll just, I'll get straight in and involved. But it's just where my focus, if you like. I don't, we have a railway line here as one of my straightaway, but there's other ones. We have a railway line here that they closed years ago. It's still there, still functioning, but they don't open it to the public, and it would connect multiple villages sort of surrounding Belfast. I've proposed putting a circle line in, creating a sort of railway line. London has a circle line, and just goes and connect those villages back in. That's sort of one of my priorities, but it's just widening that to newer and more is sort of maybe slow burner. I'll work my way into it.
Yeah, well, it's amazing to hear a developed country where, so 2022, you can't play football on the pitch because for religious reasons. That's I know we keep coming back to this. So I did not know that, and I think a lot of people are surprised to hear that.
Yeah, so so that was in Lisburn. So every council has control of their own pitches. So I went to there's a guy started an over 35s league, Sunday league, but you couldn't play on a Sunday. It was like the most bizarre. But then they were having difficulties because Saturdays, obviously the first and seconds of every or thirds of every club were using pitches, so getting pitch time is a problem. And I couldn't believe it, actually. So, but that's some of the we, going back sort of 20, 30 years, like our parks were closed on a Sunday. Everything was, it's like it's hard for anybody. It's hard for me. I'm laughing, but it's hard for anybody to understand that. But that was the kind of Paisley mindset back in the day, and that's the way when they were in control of councils, that's the way it was. So, but that is thankfully changing now, and we got that change through. So
yeah, and just sort of finally, David, I mean, obviously you're speaking from your car. You're working hard. You're on the ground. Is being a politician a harder job than the public realise or assume?
It's 24/7. I enjoy work. I enjoy hard work. I start to look around if I've nothing to do, going, I've done something wrong. So I come from I've been running my own companies and business for years. So 14, 15 hour days are standard. So I this week has been a bit of a shock to me, kind of, because I'm going, hold on, I need to do something, and I need to do something more, but it is a 24/7, 365 days. It's not but that's what you're there to serve the public. You're there to serve people, and you serve at the time they're requesting. So for me, that is a privilege rather than an annoyance of 9 to 5 kind of, but we just don't know if that answers.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, I can see what you mean. It's I think sometimes imagine politicians have got quite an, there's a certain perception of they maybe appear busy, but there's certain things they can do in long lunches and committee meetings that go on and things like that. But I think it's nice to hear from you that you're almost, you've got your hands dirty, so to speak. Yeah,
you just, the cases I've dealt with, some of the cases I've dealt with, I dealt with an old couple that they didn't even run on water in their house, and things like that. They didn't, they lived on their own. They were happy, really happy, and then one went in the hospital, and when they came out, the hospital would release them home because the house, and these guys were living in like something you see in a folk museum, and no running water. You bring help, and those are the kind of people and the kind of thing you bring a voice to, and you make sure they've got everything that they need, and that's what you're there for. That you can't put that into 9 to 5. You can't put that into time scales, and we've I'm trying to think of casework this week. You get a lot of guys who are planning issues, waiting for a planning system. We've got a company in Lisburn have been helping, and they've, through the actually because of the protocol, they've massively increased in their job, and they're trying to get new premises built and those sort of, and so it's all of those kind of issues that drive me. Those are the people on the ground that need help, and the long lunches don't really attract me, to be honest, and the long committee meetings don't either. But it's actually getting influence and getting stuff done, and that's really where my heart lies and where I want to be doing. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, David Honeyford, for your time. I mean, you're a new member of the Northern Ireland Assembly. You officially start tomorrow, but I mean, it's great to hear from you. I think we can all agree your heart's in the right place. You're trying to do a bit for your community. So I think it's great people can see another side to Northern Ireland from what you've said. The politics is not just Unionist, Nationalist. These are real people, real issues, and there's more going on.
Yeah, listen, absolute privilege. Talk to you. Thanks for the call, and all the best with your podcast, as well as anything you need in the future. Give us a shout. It's no problem.
Thank you very much, David. Have a good day.
Next time I'll go to a posh building. And
you have all the books behind you.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, David.
All the best.